Well, boys, Venture's out, and I'm gonna be honest here. It's sad to say that no one's picking him. Like, I've gotten into plenty of games, and I've been like coming back from going to the bathroom, and I just sit down like, oh, Venture's just free. No one's even gonna try to touch him or hoard the new hero to themselves. And it's because A, I'm playing in rank because they actually finally started putting the new hero in rank just this season, so that's pretty cool. I like that. And B, he sucks. All right, let's just get down to the business of it. He's not that good. Venture is a pretty frustrating hero to play because, for the most part, their abilities are on pretty long cooldowns and aren't all that good or do all that much damage relative to the amount of time it takes for you to wait for them to come off of cooldown. Like, don't get me wrong, Venture's E is amazing whenever you're actually able to get into the ground. Outside of that, it is one of the worst abilities in game. It's essentially the same thing as Reaper's Wraith Form or Mei's Ice Block, where you're invulnerable whenever you get into it, but the difference between those two abilities and Venture's ability is those two abilities are instant. If you want to go into Mei's Ice Block, all you have to do is press E. Instantly, it is a reactionary ability. And then Venture's just there digging. But on the upside of Venture's ability is it gives you shields. But the downside is it only gives you shields whenever you're already invulnerable. Whenever you don't need the shields anymore. I don't understand why they just don't give you the shields so you actually can survive and get into the ground. Like, it just gives you that slight bit of extra help to get into the ground. But for some reason they say, you know what? That's overpowered for this 13-second ability. Yet somehow Baptiste can put down an immortality shield and Mei and Reaper can instantly become invulnerable with the press of a button. But yet, Venture's not allowed to at least get some shields before he gets knocked off. And this isn't the only bad thing about Venture, because Venture is essentially what they wanted Doomfist, I guess, to be whenever he first came out. A lot of people were trying to say that this was like Doomfist 2.0 whenever Venture first came out, but the thing about Doomfist was he had ways to get in and out of a situation. Venture, once he's in a situation, he's in that situation. Unless you already have your drill dash ready and you have you're gonna drill dash out and then your excavation is gonna come up at the same time as you're drill dashing out, you're basically fucked. There's nothing you can do. Venture has nowhere else to go, and many people can easily just look at him, just realize he has nothing to defend himself. If he drill dashes into me, that's just an easy headshot. He's in my face. You don't get stunned like old Doomfist used to do whenever he hits you with his rocket punch. It makes no sense why Venture is even in the game, because they don't do anything that no one else did already, and they're worse at every aspect of the game than any other character in the game. He sucks at invulnerability. He sucks at gaining shields, seeing that he reliably gains shields from one ability, his drill dash. I don't know why he doesn't get shields off of meleeing people. That would actually be a good mechanic, so he would actually be in the fight and reliably able to sustain himself, because he's supposed to be an up-close character like Reaper, except for whenever Reaper shoots you, he gains health. But for some reason, they want Venture, I guess, to play like this weird, not even mid-range, up mid-range in the whole entire game, whenever he's actually supposed to just, at this point, play like a halfway sniper role. Because his projectiles are garbage. I'm just gonna say it all together. Venture's projectiles are the worst thing in Overwatch 2. They're garbage. They don't do enough damage. There's nothing stopping people from just sidestepping these things and taking less than 5 damage. They have about damn near no range at all. They are garbage. They're too slow to hitting 190% of the time, and they don't go out far enough. This is the length of Venture's primary shot, and that's supposed to help out your team. It's useless unless you're mechanically gifted like Shroud. You're gonna be shooting at someone, having to adjust your aim, shooting at someone, having to adjust your aim, shooting at someone, and then you realize that person already hit me in the head 3 times and I'm just clicking while I'm in the respawn timer. I'm getting war flashbacks while I'm dead. Venture is a pretty underwhelming hero in Overwatch 2 because no one's really talking about him. Whenever I get into the game, no one's playing him. Whenever I watch streamers, a few streamers here and there are playing him because he's new, but for the most part, they're like, I could switch and I could win this game easily. Like, this could be a stomp, and all I have to do is switch. I'm like, hell, anytime that I feel like, yo, Venture's not doing it right now, I just switch to Symmetra, and I automatically win the game. I don't have to do anything. I just play the character I know, Symmetra, or anything else in the game, and we automatically win. But as soon as anyone touches Venture, the game is just over. I feel bad to say that, but it is, because they don't do enough damage. The range that they're supposed to fight at is not a good range for them. Their abilities are supposed to be for them to get up close and personal to the enemies. And then anytime he does that, he gets dumped on. He gets no reward for getting that close to the enemies. And then the little seismic shot thing, I don't know, the reverse doom fist, or essentially is what I like to call it, barely lift anyone out of the ground. And even whenever you do, they're not stunned. They still can move around. There's nothing that really happens to them. Then they're like, what, slightly inconvenienced? Because they're not in a Sigma where they're just floating in the air and everyone gets free shots at them. They're barely like inconvenienced at all. And then you land right there in the middle of them. You're just right there in the middle of them. Hopefully your teammates are on your heels, because there's nothing you can do. You're just standing there fighting for your life at that point. Also, with no abilities now, because if you drill dashed in, guess what? That's gone. Your E, that's gone. Your ultimate doesn't do anything. I'm gonna just be honest here. The amount of time it takes for you to actually get this thing out, they already kill you. So the range that you have to play Venture at and the range the game wants you to play Venture at are conflicting. It's like giving Widowmaker an objective of being behind the enemies and you do like 1% extra damage. You're most likely never gonna try to get behind the enemies as Widowmaker. Like, if they turned around, that's cool, but for the most part, you're just gonna stay behind your team and sniping at them. Why would you go in and try to get a flank as Widowmaker? It makes no sense if your incentive is just an extra 1% of damage. If you get it, would it be nice? Yeah, but for the most part, it's not gonna make or break the game. Just like this character trying to melee anyone. Like, that's almost a useless part as the extra melee damage, because the amount of times you push up, you're just gonna die. Or if Venture drill dashing into the enemy team and then coming out of it and then trying his best to survive. You just threw the game right there. Unless you're like tracking down someone with less than half HP and you're already full in health, it's useless to chase after them with this, because you lose 2 abilities with this one ability you're trying to use. Unless you don't use drill dash, then either way, you're probably not catching up to that person. You're just not catching up to that person if they're already running away. In my opinion, is Venture cool? Kind of, I guess. But he's like Lifeweaver whenever Lifeweaver came out. He had some cool little mechanics, but for the most part, he was useless. Everything else was better than him. They buffed Lifeweaver, and Lifeweaver's now a pretty great healer. I don't know. Venture would have to do like a lot of damage for people to start picking him, because right now, if they buff him to where he's still like, you know, balanced for the most part, he isn't all that impressive. Every other character in the game does what he does better. There's even characters that have better range than him. Mei, again, she can snipe people and she can play up close. Mei can literally do what Venture does, but literally better. Literally, Mei's whole kit is essentially a more upgraded version of Venture's kit, because Venture has less abilities than her. But the difference between Lifeweaver and Venture is Lifeweaver actually has a unique kit. It like actually is an extremely unique kit in Overwatch and even gaming. It's a pretty great one also. Venture is essentially Doomfist mixed with like Sigma. And it's kind of a weird mixture, seeing that Sigma has so many things to keep him alive even whenever he's playing up close, and so does Doomfist. And essentially all Venture gets is basically one ability that gives him armor every like what, 12 seconds or maybe 4 seconds if he excavates and then he hits the drill dash, which is extremely useless at that point. You wasted 2 abilities for like a little bit of shields. At that point, you might as well just run away or just drill dash away. I don't know. All that I know is right now, Venture is one of the worst, if not the worst DPS hero in Overwatch 2. Like, we can just say that hands down. I have had success playing every other DPS other than Venture, because Venture is such a weird hero, because they want to play in this weird spot where you have to play back, but then like the 1 second you have to play up, it's like a very crucial second. Like you have to hit every button correctly at the right time, or you just instantly die. If you see someone running away and you have drill dash up and excavation up, you could chase that person, but the enemy team could easily just kill you if you do chase that person. So you really don't have any incentive to actually go after any kills, because if you do go after them, you basically are killing yourself, because A, excavation takes way too long if you're like right in front of someone for you to get out, and B, drill dash doesn't give you that much armor. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a pretty decent amount right here, you see, but people can just end that. Like, if you're going into like 5 people and kill 1, 4 people are shooting at you. This is not enough armor to get out of 4 people shooting at you. The last thing I want to touch on is essentially, basically, the best thing about Venture. His ultimate. It's good. It does damage. That's all you need to do. Just shoot at people. I don't know what else to say. It's basically a better primary fire. I wish this was the primary fire and it just did slightly less damage maybe, and then maybe his projectiles did more damage as the ultimate. I think that they should reverse these two, but you know, to each his own. Yeah, they thought this was going to be an amazing ultimate ability whenever it would have been a better primary ability. I don't know. What do you guys think about Venture? Tell me in the comments down below. In my opinion, they need some buffs and maybe even like a slight rework. Maybe give them an extra ability or just give them armor every time they successfully melee the enemy team, seeing that that's his essentially third ability is just meleeing for literally slightly more damage than anyone else in the whole entire game. But boys, tell me how you guys feel about Venture in the comments down below. I'll see you all in the next video.